It is that time of year once again, my fellow otaku nerds. New seasonal anime time. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to Finn Films. Join me today as we are discussing everything that I think you need to watch for Summer Anime 2025. Such as the massively hyped second seasons for amazing 2024 anime like Kaiju 8, and of course, my pick for anime of the year 2024, Dandadan. As well as an anime that I think might be the best anime to come out this summer, and I think even might have the potential to be the anime of the year, the debuting horror anime, The Summer Hikaru Died. So we're going to start off with the anime that I am personally most looking forward to this summer as well. I think that if this anime is actually executed well and it lives up to the hype that the manga created, it might just be one of the best animes to come out all year in 2025. And that, my friends, is the horror anime The Summer Hikaru Died. Now, I recently dropped an entire video about this manga and upcoming anime. I'll link it in the eye above. I highly recommend you checking that video out because I'm going to go into the way more detail on the story and the creation of that manga and anime in that video than in this video. In short, though, The Summer Hikaru Died is a supernatural mystery horror upcoming anime that follows the strange relationship between two high school friends, Yoshiki and Hikaru. However, everything changes when Yoshiki notices that Hikaru is acting weird, only for it to be then revealed that this is not in fact Hikaru at all, but a strange eldritch-like horror skin-walking being in his body. Not only that, but this new skin-walking Hikaru is, well, I guess a bit obsessed, we'll say, with his friend Yoshiki. The horror from this manga and upcoming anime really being derived from kind of three different parts. One, the eldritch horror, Junji Ito-esque body horror, which I absolutely love. Two, the strange, mysterious kind of supernatural elements that begin to plague this small rural Japanese town as our story unfolds. And three, the horrifying yandere-esque obsessive relationship that begins to develop between this new Hikaru and his best friend Yoshiki. This story very much flirting with this kind of boy love genre, but in a very horrifying and emotionally abusive type way. A way that, in my opinion, really only adds to the actual horror elements and horror vibes of this story, all of this coming together to create quite the scary horror manga and hopefully the scary horror anime. This anime is set to be released on July 6th and is being done by a studio, Cygames Picture, a studio that personally I'm not very familiar with, but I have to say that from what I've seen from the trailer so far, it does look like it won't be really an issue as far as this anime looking good visually. The question that I have is, will this anime be able to capture the same horror vibes and essence of the panels in the manga? And I think that this is really the hard part when it comes to adapting horror manga into horror anime, and while a lot of horror anime really don't end up doing well. I mean, outside of the first episode of Uzumaki, there hasn't really been any successful attempts to turn the brilliant body horror of Junji Ito, the manga, into an anime. That being said, though, I am still very excited to see The Summer Hikaru Died. I'm a big fan of this manga, and I'm an absolute horror geek, so I'm really hoping that this anime is good, and low-key, I think that if it is good, it could be one of the best anime that drops this year. The manga is just actually that good. Moving on, we're going to discuss the first of many hyped second season animes that are coming out this summer, starting with Kaiju 8. When Kaiju 8 debuted last year in 2024, it very quickly became one of my favorite anime of 2024. It's got an awesome, really cool, unique story set in a really cool, interesting, dystopian, sci-fi-esque world, and on top of all of that, it was inspired by the works of a philosopher named Franz Kafka and his book Metamorphosis. Which is like super crazy and wild that an anime and manga would be inspired by like philosophy of all things. Never would I thought I'd see a crossover of like two of my hobbies and interests like so weird like this in my life than the crossover of like a philosopher with a manga. So Kaiju 8 embodies a lot of the kind of classic shonen archetypes, and it plays on the kind of fun anime trope of like a weak protagonist that suddenly receives powers and becomes OP. In this case, our main character, Kafka Hibeno, is a middle-aged man that suddenly receives mysterious powers that allow him to transform into an uber-powerful kaiju type monster. The only problem is that in this universe, kaiju are evil, because kaiju just can't help themselves and attack the mainland Japan and Tokyo. If it wasn't for solo leveling and Dandadan also being released in 2024, Kaiju 8 probably would have been my favorite anime that came out last year. It really nails the dark, gritty, kind of shonen fantasy sci-fi tropes, but it also has really funny moments of actual comedy gold on top of all of this, and it has absolutely fantastic fight scenes done by production IG Studio, and really interesting, diverse set of characters, and an overall kind of story that links the main characters to several other characters. I can only imagine that the second season of Kaiju 8 will pick up and probably be just as good as the first season. Moving on then to what, according to my anime list, is the most hyped upcoming anime for summer 2025, and that is the second season of My Dress Up Darling Season 2? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this definitely took me off guard with just how popular this show is. Now, I have to say, I generally don't go for kind of classic romance genre anime. I know, a real shocker. However, that being said, I have to say I really did enjoy season 1 of this anime of My Dress Up Darling. It definitely took me by surprise. So this anime is done by Studio Cloverworks, and Cloverworks has a history of producing and making banging great anime and making it just absolutely look fantastic. So I think personally what makes this anime so good and what made it so popular is its surprising subgenre and themes, and cute girls dressing up always helps. Specifically themes in cosplay. So the story is basically this. There's this young, awkward main character named Gojo, who spends his days working on making Hina dolls to live up to the legacy of his grandfather. When suddenly, though, he finds himself being friends with this pretty outgoing girl named Marin, who is a cosplayer. Marin then recruiting our awkward boy and using his sewing skills to help her make cool and new interesting cosplay. The two of them slowly growing closer together in this very much will they, won't they type relationship. I mean, this show is straight up otaku bait. You got your classic awkward male main character who has this kind of romance arc with that pretty outgoing girl who the audience gets to see dress up in cute cosplay outfits every single episode. One of the things that I really like about this show is the way that it breaks down the process of making cosplay outfits, which I honestly think is one of the coolest things about the show and one of the things that interested me most about this anime. But of course, when you throw all of this together, this is basically an otaku's wet dream for an anime, and I imagine that season 2 of My Dress Up Darling will probably be pretty close to as popular as season 1, if not even more popular. Speaking of romance anime, there's actually 3 supernatural romance animes that are coming out in this summer block. We got the second season of Call of the Night, which is basically just a vampire romance that has some funny comedy in it. An anime called The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Okay, crazy name. And an anime called Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus, continuing on in the Rascal series that was probably most famous for the Bunny Girl Senpai anime, which came out in 2018. Wait, that really came out in 2018? Wow, do I feel old. Technically, I guess you could throw the second season of Dandadan into the kind of supernatural romance genre, but at the same time, it's also a dark kind of comedy shonen anime, very much a comedy, but we'll talk about Dandadan later. Personally, out of these 3 animes, I probably will watch the second season of Call of the Night, as I did enjoy the first season. It's kind of your classical shonen romance vampire anime that's done by finnfilms, the studio that was behind Initial D and I believe Tokyo Revengers, if I'm remembering correctly. It was funny, has an interesting premise, it made me laugh, and any anime that I think can consistently make me laugh and it's interesting, I will give it the time of day. As for the other 2 romance animes, not really my cup of tea. I mean, The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Wow, is that a mouthful? We really need to talk to our friends in Japan about how they name these manga and anime. This is kind of a classic drama high school romance anime, and personally, I am not interested. A lot of people seem to be, but it's definitely not for me. It's basically a straight up trope fest romance kind of story of a cute, nice girl and an intimidating, rough around the edges guy. It is also done by Cloverworks, along with the new Rascal movie in the kind of Rascal series, Rascal Does Not Dream series, and I imagine if you like the Rascal series and the Bunny Girl Senpai anime that you will like this movie. They're all very good and they do look amazing. They're just not really my cup of tea. Moving on, then we have the 4th season of Rising of the Shield Hero. Yeah, they're still making this show. Rising of the Shield Hero is your classic isekai kind of fantasy, trapped in a video game-esque, fantasy world, D&D tropey nonsense. I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy Rising of the Shield Hero Season 1, and then even a little bit of Season 2, but it quickly began to go downhill for me, and at the end of the day, this anime is very much like any other isekai fantasy anime, in my opinion. If you've seen one of them, you've seen all of them. It doesn't really do anything new or interesting. I don't really like any of the characters. It does a classic kind of isekai fantasy harem trope bait. I mean, the isekai genre is so played out by now, especially the fantasy isekai genre. Basically, if it's not as good as Overlord or better than Overlord, then, you know, one of them or basically all of them are the same, in my opinion. Moving on, then, we have Sakamoto Days Part 2, the Netflix anime. The second part to Part 1 of the anime series, which debuted just a few months back in March. Now, personally, I was super hyped for Sakamoto Days, the anime, because this manga is absolutely insane. It is hilarious, it is over the top, it is nuts, and it has some of the best fight scene panels that I've seen from any manga ever. And that's not just my opinion, that's pretty much a consensus from mainly manga fans. Definitely go check out the fight scenes in this panel. So because of that, there was a lot of hype for Sakamoto Days, the anime, and unfortunately, it didn't really live up to that hype. I think the biggest thing is that so far, they haven't been able to live up to the crazy fight scenes of the panels in the manga and then adapting them into the anime. That is the thing that people were most hyped about. That was what I was most hyped about, and unfortunately, it hasn't lived up to that. That being said, though, I think people are a little too harsh on Sakamoto Days Part 1. I mean, I guess it does have, what, a 7.5, I think, on my anime list? 7.58. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty solid. Anything in the 7s is a solid anime. So I guess Sakamoto Days Part 1 wasn't nearly as trashed on as much as I remember. I just know that people were really hyped up for this anime when it came out, and it didn't really live up to the hype that people were hoping. But that being said, I really like Sakamoto Days Part 1. Part 2 is already coming out just a few months later, so I will be watching this. I think it's really good. As well, we have Part 2 for Dr. Stone Science Future, the second part of the most recent Dr. Stone season. I absolutely love Dr. Stone. It's one of my favorite shonen anime that has come out in years. I think it's awesome. It has amazing artwork. It's done by TMS Entertainment. It is a Toho anime studio produced product. It's just banger. Dr. Stone is just a very unique, iconic anime. The story of a group of teenagers, basically, who get sent back into the Stone Age, and if you will, kind of making it a little bit simpler than the actual story. But basically, that's what happened. They get sent back to the Stone Age. One of these teenagers is an uber genius, and he has to basically speed run the human race back into modernity in terms of technology, and it's absolutely awesome. The first part of Dr. Stone Science Future came out in January of this year and is sitting out an 8.24 on my anime list, and it was absolutely fantastic, and this is the second part to that season, if you will. I guess as Dr. Stone, I believe, only has a few seasons left. If I feel like I read that somewhere. Let me know in the comment section down below if you know. Again, Dr. Stone, absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend Dr. Stone if somehow you haven't seen any of Dr. Stone. Finally, moving on, we were talking about the anime that I imagine most of the anime community is most excited for, what I thought was anime of the year for 2024, the second season of Dandadan. Yeah, they're really pumping out anime fast these days. It is kind of crazy that in just 1 year's time, we got, you know, the second season of Dandadan and the second season of Kaiju 8, the second season of Solo Leveling, all in, you know, 24 months or less. Pretty crazy. I bet the animators are out there working insane hours. But yes, I know anime fans out there, myself included, are super excited for the second season of Dandadan. Dandadan definitely took the anime community by surprise. The hype train was steaming real fast. People were all aboard this anime instantly, and I can honestly see why. I did a whole video that I released last year about why I think that Dandadan is so good. I'll link it in the eye above. But in short, Dandadan just hits, I think, all of the things that make an anime go super popular, uber mainstream. It is absolutely hilarious. In my opinion, if I was going to describe Dandadan or put it in a genre, I would definitely put it in the comedy romance genre more so than the shonen genre. If anything, I think a lot of the things that make Dandadan funny are the fact that they're making fun of traditional shonen tropes. It's got a banger soundtrack, absolutely beautiful animations from Studio Science Sabru, and it has two awesome main characters that are entrapped in this will they, won't they kind of love-esque romance relationship that is also interlocking them in a weird, crazy, supernatural journey. Dandadan is a straight up banger. Season 1 is sitting with a solid 8.5 on my anime list, I believe, which in my opinion is completely deserved. Dandadan, in my opinion, was the best anime from 2024, and if Season 2 picks up where Season 1 left off, it could very easily be the best anime of 2025. It's set to be released on July 6th, just a few days at the time of recording, and personally, I cannot wait. This anime definitely took me by surprise last year, and I know that people are very much all aboard the hype train, so I hope that this anime can actually continue to live up to the hype, as this oftentimes happens and can be the problem when anime becomes super hyped and mainstream, is the hype is so big when Season 1 does so well. Sometimes the following seasons just can't live up to how good that was and how good the expectations are from the audience. This is ultimately what happened with My Hero, where Season 1 and Season 2 of My Hero Academia are so goddamn good that when it eventually falls off a bit in Season 3 and 4, which in reality really aren't that bad, they only feel much worse because of how good the first 2 seasons were, and I hope that Dandadan doesn't go that route, and I hope that it continues to be banger after banger, and I hope it continues to make us laugh. As well, I just saw that this summer also has the 2nd season of the Vending Machine Isekai anime. That anime is absolutely ridiculous and really just, to me, embodies the absolute insanity and ridiculousness and why the isekai genre needs to be put to bed for a while. Guys, I am extremely thankful that this summer is not filled with fantasy isekai, thank freaking God, and there's actually a number of really interesting anime that are coming out this summer that I think are going to be really good. If anything, I think the summer and the upcoming fall after it might be the best crop of anime that we've had come out in a while, and especially when, the 2nd season of Dandadan and Kaiju 8 are coming out at the same time in July. That's going to be a really good month of anime, on top of, again, the anime that I am most excited for, probably the Summer Hikaru Died, which is also releasing on July 6th, the same day, 2 days after the 2nd season of Dandadan debuts, which is on July 4th, America birthday, which is this Friday at the time of recording. Overall, Summer Anime 2025 looks like it's going to be hype, looks like it's going to be banger. Let me know in the comment section down below, what anime are you most excited for Summer Anime 2025. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, and it really does go a long way in putting this video into the algorithm. If you liked this video, then want to check out some of my other anime content on screen now. And as always, hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, adieu.